Yeah, now we're recording.
Thank you.
We just finished the
Now,
Bible
yeah,
study
good.
and we approved the minutes from last meeting. And now we're going to the treasurer's report.
Yeah,
Go for
it's
it,
a lot better performance than last month. We were almost exactly where we were in contributions a year ago in October. So we wound up being pretty good. It showed us as being a loss of $2,800 on the month, which is a little bit more than we budgeted for the month, but we're still $1,500 or so ahead of the curve as far as the year-to-date budget. So I think we're in pretty good shape to finish out the year being at or better than what we had predicted at the beginning of the year with the budget. Not that being in the negative after the year is a sustainable budget for very long. So hopefully that's a nice segue into stewardship drive so that we can, and I understand that with the lockdown, we weren't able to do the church rental for weddings and stuff that we were so looking forward to being able to do to help supplement that income. And I'm hoping that next year, once we get a vaccine in place and things loosen up, that will be a major contributor to our budget going forward. Other than that, it was a pretty straightforward month. Any questions or concerns?
No, but I'd like to say that I think it's darned amazing that we're doing as well as we are during this time of not being in person in the church.
Yeah.
Yes.
Concur.
Yeah. And the assessment, you're muted, Bill. You're muted. The assessment goes down for next year also.
Oh, they're lowering it again? I hadn't
I
heard
believe
that,
so.
that's
I think
good.
it went to, wasn't it?
The,
You're muted.
The assessment is just still the same.
Okay, I thought it was at 14.5 or something.
That's what it is currently.
Yeah, it's going to remain. At
Okay.
14.
Yeah.
All right.
So which is down well from where it was, a decade
Yeah.
and a half ago, where it was
Yeah.
over 20. But and it's a percentage. So if we don't get the income, much assessment, and the prior month was so bad, we only wound up paying like $850 for the assessment for September.
Well, that's at least a little help. Yeah.
I mean, the water bill was almost more than that.
Yeah, we've got the water shut off now.
Are the assessments based on the previous year? On income?
No, it's based on the previous month.
Previous month, okay, because it used to be
Income
on the,
previous, with deductions for.
Yeah, they changed it. Last year, they started assessing every month's income so that would be more closely tracked to our budgets, and that's helped us a lot, I think.
Yeah.
I just remember being at St. Paul's and when the assessments came in and they were based on a couple of years prior, and we had high income, and then we had a low income, but we had to pay a high assessment because of the previous, and it got messy.
Yeah, that's a bad system when the assessment trails the income. All right, well, looks good. Is there a motion to accept the report?
Yeah, I could see how that would be. But currently, we pay it as the 14 for the church building. You were talking over the top of me there, Bill. I was saying that it's a percentage of the revenue from the prior month, but then we get deductions for doing outreach and for the expense of paying for the building. So the mortgage is deductible, as are any capital improvements to the building.
That helps a lot.
Oh, okay. Good.
Move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the treasurer's report. All in favor, put up your hand. Is that enough? Yeah, Peter's got it. Okay. Motion is approved. Motion passes. Okay. Moving right along now. Oh geez, where's my PowerPoint? There it is.
Oh, business.
Okay, stewardship campaign. We sent out the letter. I sent a video from the bishop. Talked about it in my newsletter article, and pledges are coming in. There was a remark that we
Yeah,
didn't
there
have
you go.
anything on the pledge card about
I have to
the,
just fill it out.
so that was a
Could you
mistake.
say that again, Bill? Could you say-
People remarked that there was no place on the pledge card for the building fund.
Mhm.
And I don't know why that was. I just asked Linda to make the pledge cards like last year, and she did, and I guess we must not have had it last year either. Or at least her copy didn't. So sorry about that. Linda sent out an email telling people that they could send that in to her if they want to make a pledge for the building fund.
Mhm.
Some people have been paying, I think they've been paying to the building fund all along. Is that right, Jim?
Yes, we've been getting generic contributions to the building fund and also ones specifically earmarked to pay down the mortgage.
Yeah.
Oh, lost you.
Other
Oh,
thoughts about the stewardship campaign? It's supposed to end November 22nd, which will give us some time before the end of the year. Usually the pledge cards kind of dribble in a couple of weeks afterwards, couple months.
a couple months, oh dear.
Okay. Garden plans. We had a garden meeting, I think it was Tuesday night, and Esther was there and Bill was there. I sent out, I think I sent out the minutes of that meeting. And Bill, well, we talked about the land use plan. Bill, would you like to talk about that? I'll put it up here so we can look at it, and maybe you can describe
Okay,
describe the plan.
yeah.
Yeah, there it is right there.
Along Old Frontier Road, which is at the top of that page, and to the left is north. We have the large events, which could be a baseball field, a football field, bocce ball courts, whatever, up in there, just as a place to use for things. Overflow parking, if we have a major event, say we have a fair, and the fair is set up in the large event area, we could have overflow parking on the other side of the driveway. Right in front of the nave by the steeple, we would have a flower garden where the altar guild and everyone else could grow flowers that could be used for the flowers at the altar, with a little walking path around it that leads back to the memorial garden, which when you look out of the chapel windows, you would see the memorial garden. If you go into the nursery and you go out the door from the nursery into the back of the building on the north side, there would be a playground for kids out there. So it's protected and out of the way, away from the street. Then of course we have the regular expansion for phase 2 building, both parking lot and building. And we would have a community garden, possibly, that would be back by the barn on the other side of the driveway from the barn out of the way. It could start small and expand or whatever we do with it. Then I was thinking that maybe a labyrinth out by the event shelter so that people could go out there and walk in the labyrinth and have a place to just sit and meditate and walk in the labyrinth. And then a community picnic area. So we would put a picnic table or two and some trash cans and have a place where the community could come out in and have picnics and open it up. And then around the whole area, starting with the gravel walkway we already have, we could have a walk around the perimeter of the property, the front part of the property, which is that line around the whole perimeter there. A place to just walk around and go through the trees and go up the cinder walk and so on. And this was just a proposal for possible use of the land.
And you have the wetlands in there.
Yep.
And you also have the phase 2 parking.
Yeah. Yeah, we needed to hold the phase 2 building and phase 2 parking areas out so that we know what they're going to be used for when we get to that.
And those are all marked in by the architect. This is off of the architect's drawings, by the way.
Yeah.
Chris Croson, at our
Where
meeting,
is,
Chris asks about the drain field for the septic system. And it's in the bottom on the right side. You can see some very light dashed lines up among the trees. That's where our drain field is.
Mhm.
where is the current
Who had the-
event shelter on this?
Okay, if you start at the nave, which is the main part of the building,
Mhm.
which is on the left side of the driveway below the overflow parking, and you
Right.
follow the walkway that goes across the driveway to the northeast, there's the labyrinth.
It's got freckles on top, right?
Yes.
Yes, it's slightly
Okay.
freckled on top, yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's the current event shelter.
Now, at our meeting, we had previously had the community garden up near the front, in front of the nave, in front of the church building. And after discussion, the group felt that it would be better to have it in the back where it wasn't, unsightly, because a garden can have a fence and tools and compost and stuff like that. So that's why we moved it to the back.
And we don't know how large it will be.
It also moves it closer
What
to the
was that?
barn, which is where there's water and
Yeah. And there's also storage for equipment. So shovels or rakes and so on can be put in the barn.
Esther, you were at that meeting. Just any thoughts about this, our discussion?
I just think that Bill did a really nice job. Much more real to me. I'm excited about the possible future of St. Anthony's. I think that we have this wonderful gift of this property and the new building, and a real opportunity to make a statement to the community about what a Christian faith can do in a community. I mean, I'm stunned that financially we're doing as well as we are. And I just had to hunt, see if I can find my pledge card, which I do have. So I was encouraged by the whole thing, because I think that there are people who are willing to do it. And of course, some of us are wondering about, since we're no longer spring chicks, and crawling around the edge of a garden on your knees in order to do the weeding and so on is not a prospect that makes many of us happy. We're going to need to see if we can enlist some folks. Maybe we can bring in some people who are interested in the notion of we'd be donating food for the hungry. It's going to be a hungry winter this year everything that I read with the pandemic, and I was watching the news before we started, and as you all know, it's going to be tough. So
Yeah, thank you, Esther.
I hope we're not going to play baseball in the large events area up in front. It's kind of a-
It's whatever.
Yeah, I know.
I'm looking for bocce ball.
That would be fun.
One thing I should say about this plan is that it's really a reservation. These are reserved areas. They don't mean we're going to do that, but the area is reserved for that. So we don't have any plans to make a labyrinth, for example. But if someone did, and at some point want a labyrinth, now we have a place where we've designated it. That's the idea for this plan.
Yeah.
The one thing I see, the playground, that whole area has actually been reserved for the Memorial Garden.
All the way up past the back by the offices.
From one end of the church to the other end.
Because of the door out of the nursery. And then it's away from the road and it's protected so that the kids are away from running into traffic or whatever, or having somebody pick up a kid and take them away.
Yeah, and it's right, easy access out of the daycare. You can go right from the room where the nursery is right out into the playground. I think maybe we want to move the Memorial Garden forward if it needs to be bigger rather than take away from the playground.
Yeah,
It's just,
we could do that. That's when the time comes to actually build them. I think that's when we have to look at where do we set the boundaries.
Did the Memorial Garden Group have a plan, David, that would show how they're going to use that whole space?
We hadn't reached that point, but I did bring this to the Bishops Committee and you did approve it already.
Oh,
Okay, well, then we need to think about that, what we're going to do about that.
yeah.
The one thing that I've run into every time I have worked with anybody to talk about the Memorial Garden is they want to know the size of the space. So we set the size and the Bishops Committee voted on it and approved it last year. So if we're going to change that, we have to know that so that so once we can start with the committee, we know exactly what we're working with.
Okay, so we
Mhm.
probably should not approve this as it is. We maybe should take this back to the people and the Memorial Committee and see,
Yeah.
or else we could just put this in as the Memorial Garden on the whole thing and wait until another time. I don't know what you want to do.
my opinion.
Yeah.
But
Say again?
what I was advocating is if they need that space is just slide it forward so it reaches out to where the overflow parking is. So it would be the same area. It would be just slightly offset from the building.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The one thing about the play area for the
Absolutely.
kids too is it can't move to the west because that gets into the septic system.
well, it can move away.
Yeah.
The septic system isn't down until you see that arrow from the phase 2 building where it has a zigzag.
Yeah. I wouldn't want the kids too close to it though.
No, but it's a long
Yeah.
ways away.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, well, we'll have to talk to the Memorial Committee and see what they think their response would be for possibly moving the same amount of space, sort of unlimited, going forward toward the overflow parking.
Okay,
Or do we want to move the playground? That would be a discussion for them to come back with an answer.
okay. How's that sound, David?
That's fine.
So I guess we're gonna sort of table this, the approval of this
Yep.
until we get some feedback from the Memorial Committee or from the Garden Committee, is that right?
Well, why does it matter? Why don't we just approve it? Because the solution here obviously is to change this place that was approved for the Memorial Garden and move it further forward. A want for a playground seems to be the predominant want here, so why don't we just approve it?
Okay, is that all right with people?
Yeah.
And this is a fluid document anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a.
Yeah.
master
Oh,
plan. I think the.
This is a proposal. This is a proposal for the use so that we sort of don't run over this, what we just did with running over each other's space.
So what you want, Bill, is a motion to approve the proposal as fluid as it is? Or do we need an approval of this at all?
I think at some point we need to approve.
Right now it's guidance.
Well, it moves it along at least as a statement of intention.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think it would be good for us to approve something at some point so that people would know that, they can look at a document and see what our intentions are.
Why don't we vote to share this with the rest of the church or the property and ask for feedback?
I think that sounds like a good idea.
Idea.
We don't need to.
Good idea.
Right now, we can share it, get feedback, and then approve it later.
Yeah,
I like that.
Okay,
I like that. It's a good idea.
okay,
We get buy-in.
okay,
Better to have buy-in.
okay. Well, I want to thank Bill for taking the trouble to make the plan and to revise it and to bring it back here. That was a really nice job. Thanks, Bill.
Mhm. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, Esther, would you like to, is there anything more you'd like to share about the meeting that we had? We talked about getting volunteers and what it would take to get started and how big we want it to be. You want to talk about any of that? You're muted.
For me,
You're muted.
yeah, I'm okay now. The most important part for me, I think, is that we're making a statement to not just to the parishioners, but to the community. Because, what are we doing on that property? What do we mean for the community of Silverdale? What is our purpose? We need to have a sense of that because we're there, particularly in this time of pain, of fear, of where do we go next? What's happened? Oh my God. That's one of the things that we're supposed to be experts in, is offering words of comfort. We're certainly not getting lots of them in other places. And so that's my overriding thing with anything that we do. And the idea of the community garden is simply that was one way. People come and plant potatoes, and you can give away potatoes. That's something that's very simple. Does not have to be an enormous project, but just something that people who don't do altar guild or don't do flowers, don't do liturgical participation. Here is something simple that people could participate in if they wanted to. And some people enjoy gardening. So a modest proposal, if at all. That's all.
Yeah, I could imagine Jesse and Julie Sherwin coming to church on Sunday and, weeding their patch and showing their kids. And, that would be their contribution. They could have a little 4x4 piece of ground.
Yeah.
One thing we talked about at the meeting was that we probably need to do a survey to see if there is actually any interest. So we're going to do that after a little bit of education about what the garden is about. So we're going to work on that in the next month.
Good.
I think some people thought that we were going to, plow up an acre of ground and fill it with long roads that had hours and hours of hoeing and that sort of thing. And that sounds overwhelming, which it is overwhelming. So we're talking about, a few raised beds maybe for the first year. I was talking with David Sorrell today, and he said that having it back there is good because we can use the water from the well up by the rental house. And so we won't add to our water bill.
Oh, okay, good.
There's a line that comes down the road from the house. Okay. Everybody all right on that? Any other comments? Blaine, you've been quiet. You got any ideas?
No, sounds like it's progressing the way it should. Next thing is to get buy-in from the congregation and see if you got bodies to make it work.
Okay.
Good.
Sounds good. All right. Land acknowledgement. Now let me see if I can bring up this video. This is going to be tricky. How do I do this? I've got to go to the diocesan website and bring up the video, and I hope you'll be able to see it. I think you should because I'm sharing the screen. So let's see here. Okay, here it is. So I'll make this bigger and we can watch this. It's about 25 minutes.
It's not showing on my screen.
Anybody else see it?
Nope.
No.
Yeah.
I'm Bradley Hoff.
Audio,
agenda.
no visual.
I guess that's
Why
not,
don't you just send us the link and we can watch it?
okay. I got to stop it now. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. I wasn't sure if that was going to work. I guess you can't do that. Sorry. He was the keynote speaker for our convention. He's a Oglala Sioux Indian, and he's in the National Church Office for Native American Ministries. Really smart guy and really nice speaker, very pleasant to listen to. And he spoke a lot about ethnic diversity and how important it is for us to honor other cultures. And he talked about his own culture and what it meant to be Native American, and how much we need the voices of Native Americans in the church and in our country. And he spent quite a bit of time talking about land acknowledgement statements, that this is a way that we can show that we honor the Native American people who came before us in our area. And the Native peoples, they want to have that kind of, it's a matter of respect for them. And respect, of course, is a very important principle for Native American peoples in their cultures, to respect the elders, to respect the earth, to respect other peoples. And by having a land acknowledgement statement, we would be showing our respect for the peoples who came before us here, which are the Suquamish, the Duwamish, and the Coastal Salish people. So I'll send that link to you. I hope you'll watch it because I think it's a really good video. He's a nice speaker. And I think he's got some good ideas there. And I'll send you some links to look at. I think this should be a long-term process. We need to explain it to people and so that the congregation knows what we're talking about. And if it's going to be on our website or our bulletins or publications, then people need to know that before we put it out there.
Maybe we could have something even on the grounds to acknowledge their presence here.
Yeah, I could see some, something on the one of the pillars of the picnic shelter saying that.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
that'd be great.
Might be an idea to contact somebody in one of the tribes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I thought about that. I wonder if we could get them to speak to us or to
Oh yeah,
Zoom with us.
that would be great.
Mhm. And that's one of the things they talk about when creating a land acknowledgement statement is to ask the local tribes for their okay, rather than us just doing it on our own, but asking them how they feel about it and letting them know that we're doing this as a sign of respect.
Right. Oh, that would be wonderful.
Yeah. Anybody want to take that on?
I'd be interested in doing it, but not by myself. I couldn't begin to do it by myself.
Well, I'll be willing to work with it.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm. I know that there was some people who live up in this house at the corner of Central Valley Road and Wagga Way. And those people knew the Indians back when. I mean, apparently that family has been here since then. I haven't seen those people in a while yet, but there must be some people around that can tell us where to go.
Yeah, well, the Suquamish tribe has got quite a nice website. I looked it up, and they have a public information officer type thing,
Mhm.
like a spokesperson. I think that would be the way to go for initial contact, because they've set it up. They've got tremendous amount of things going on in that tribe. I mean, from education to museums to employment programs. I mean, it's just a huge website, but they have somebody specifically assigned to
Great.
public relations. Yeah.
Doing reclamation projects to clean up the polluted land and so on. I know because my son, who's looking for a job, had to get one and couldn't because he wasn't a native. But they are doing a good work even for the environment.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, the tribes have had a big hand in saying what's going on as far as cleaning up the environment, and they're able to pull quite a bit of weight.
Mhm. I just think their Native American spirituality just kind of really, it's amazing how it goes hand in hand with our Christian traditions. I don't know if I've mentioned the Tekakwitha Conference. The Roman Catholics had a conference every year, and all the tribes get together to mention that. And they have a service that is a combination of their peace pipe and our Holy Communion. It was pretty darn amazing.
Yeah, they got something like that in South Dakota too, where the Episcopal churches get together, and I mean the native churches get together. Yeah. Mhm.
Well, I think this would be. I think our grounds would be perfect place to incorporate some of their native spirituality.
Sure. Yeah, native spirituality and Christian creation spirituality go hand in hand. As Christians, we have a call to care for the environment. I think that's part of our stewardship, and we can learn from them.
We just need to be very careful with that. I remember meeting with a Native American who was feeling a little unhappy with the fact that many of the things that we do are sort of copies of native spirituality, said, you know, you have a spirituality of your own. Why do you need to borrow ours?
Oh,
Yeah, cultural appropriation is a no-no. And Katie is always reminding me, that we need to show respect and not just take over something from them.
I think what we can all learn from this is the oneness of all humanity. And the amazing part of it is that we all do have something similar, that there is a common denominator of all of these different kind of spiritualities, whether it be Christian, Native American, Jewish. There is something at the bottom of all of it. And I just think that's pretty important. So that's kind of why I think it's fascinating.
Yes. Good.
Well, you guys are going to be a little while on your agenda, and I'm not technically part of your committee, so I think I'm going to slip out now.
Well, you're
Thank you.
willing, you can say if you'd like, but thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Okay, reopening plans. Bill, you want to say anything? You're muted.
I submitted the plan to the diocese. It went to the chancellor. The chancellor reviewed it, made all of her spelling and punctuation corrections. It was like English class all over again. We made all the changes to it, and it now conforms to and is approved by the diocese. And it is now up on the diocesan website as a sample for other people to use.
Oh,
Sample or standard?
It's a sample. It's a sample for other people so they don't have to reinvent the wheel. They can use ours as a starting point. In fact, St. Bede, since it's a similar size, is using it as a starting point for their reopening plan since they don't have one. So I talked to some people from St. Bede about that.
Yeah. I think
A lot of hard work, Bill, and thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
You've been working on it for months and just persevering with it.
it was interesting to do as more stuff came along and everything came and more. It was really interesting to do.
Yeah, Bill has met the standards of the chancellor.
Yeah.
Okay, well, tell me what you think about when we should reopen or how.
we talked about this last time. Did we discuss the same thing last time?
Sure, but it's another month.
Yeah, probably. I see us in the rediscussion of this matter at the end of the first quarter of next year.
Okay.
Because I think it's going to take that long to get this all settled in place, to get a vaccine out there, and to start seeing the results and to see where we stand.
Yeah, they're saying that the vaccine is not going to be available to the masses until April to June of next year.
Yeah.
Next summer.
Yeah.
Maybe next summer we'll start.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Bill, are
we
we able
have a
to
discussion.
open? Bill, are we allowed to open at this point?
Yes.
Yes, we are,
We're in phase 2.
but limited. It's very limited in the number of people that you can have, and that you have a whole procedure for coming into the building with checking your temperature, registering, for your
But
contact tracing and so on.
That's the plan that you've already built.
Yeah, that's the plan that's in place, and we can, according to the diocese and the county, we can have, I think, 25% capacity.
Yeah.
I have heard from at least one family that they would like to be able to come back. I'm wondering if there are members who want to. I'm not one of those, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, there are, when I was speaking to clergy, our clergy group a couple of days ago, it sounds like there's a handful of churches in the diocese that are doing some kind of worship, very small amounts, very distanced, but most churches are just waiting. But we could start. With the spike that we're seeing right now, it just doesn't seem like a good idea to me until that spike goes down.
Yeah.
You know, Stan Marks is really itching to come back. He would really like to be in church, but I have to keep telling him, not now.
Yeah.
Maybe we should consider, especially with the important for the church holidays coming up, of doing a single service and having, like, I don't know, a lottery or something for it. Because I can't see us doing 8 and 10, allowing people in. Just pick one, do the 25% capacity, and I think it would be cathartic for folks to be able to do that.
The
Yeah.
plan that we have established calls for the 10:15 service and not the 8 as being open eventually.
Oh, you're talking about Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
Jim was talking about Christmas Eve.
Oh, yeah.
That too. Or
Wait a minute,
Yeah.
Was that what you're talking about, Jim? Or
Bill.
Jim, did you mean Sunday's service?
either or. I'm just saying that there should be one in the December Christmas range where people can come to church. It doesn't necessarily have to be Christmas Eve. To be able to do the cleanup and everything that's required to do it on a Sunday morning. I don't know.
Okay, well, let's think about that.
What are other churches doing? Do you know, Bill?
Well, most churches are just going to remain shut.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah,
hand.
I think I keep hearing like there's a limit. You should have people not with their families on Thanksgiving. There's some suggestions
Yeah.
because it's so bad. And I've heard no more than 10 people, which to me right now seems like a lot.
Mhm.
I really don't foresee that we're going to be. we're gonna, I know that people are clamoring to.
But that's in small environments, not wearing a mask because you're eating. That's where they're finding the problem is, where you're in limited and you're close environments and eating and drinking. So it's still,
Yeah.
most of the spreading is coming from bars and restaurants.
But I've
If
heard-
we're socially distanced and wearing masks, it's not going to be as big a problem.
Mhm. I've heard there was a list, I think it was in the Seattle paper, that churches have been a place where a lot of COVID has been spread.
And that was true,
Yeah.
Carolyn, at the early onset before churches could
Yeah.
not meet.
Yeah.
They're talking
I
now about
know.
not allowing but maybe 20, 25 people in that building at all. And
Yeah.
distancing them at a great distance from one another. They can't hug, they can't touch, they can't do any of those things that spreads the virus. It's just as safe as going to the grocery store.
Except
Yeah.
that you're there a lot longer. You're in the
Probably
proximity.
Yeah.
safer.
One thing we noticed when we had the memorial service for Ken Stevens was
That's what I
how
was-
hard it is for people to stay socially distanced.
Yeah.
Naturally
That's
clump up.
They don't pay attention.
It's just-
I know there's I know of Elam Lutheran services, depending on the weather conditions, they're either very restrict the number of people and they have it inside. They use miniature cupcake tins to put a wafer in for people to get the whole process worked out for distributing the hose. And St. Columba in Kent, I know, has been having some services, but it looked like Alyssa might be cutting back. I talked to her once and she was having services with, maybe 20 people.
Mhm. We also had the challenge of the heating and the air movement in the church in the wintertime. That was also brought up last time.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have the heating on all the time, which is pretty loud.
Noisy.
Yeah.
Noisy.
Okay, well, let's put that off until next month and see where we're at in terms of COVID by
Mhm.
by next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, the well test, I got a call on that today, that they did the test and the well that our rental house is on came up clear. There's no contamination at all. So we're in good shape that way. I was glad to hear that. That would have been a real mess.
Good.
Then
Yes.
we could have extended our own water, Silverdale water back there, but it would cost money. So this is better.
Yay.
The next item on the agenda is the Boy Scouts. I sent out an email about this afternoon. I don't know if you got a chance to read it.
Yeah.
Basically, the Boy Scouts of America is going bankrupt, and anyone who has had scouts in their church needs to be protected. And so the diocese wants all the churches to file with the bankruptcy people. Not sure exactly what that means. So all the parishes have to do that themselves, but because we're a mission, the diocese is doing it for us.
Great.
That's one of the reasons we don't want to become a parish.
Yes. Okay.
We've never sponsored a troop that I know of, but we've had Boy Scouts meeting, and I think that could make us liable.
What is the liability that is being expressed? I haven't read the whole document yet.
I don't know exactly. I think that,
We're specific.
go ahead.
I don't think they were specific in that letter on that, do you?
No, I don't think so. I think the idea is that if a person sues the Boy Scouts, and you know how lawsuits just take in everything, they'll go to every possible organization that they can, and that would include the church, for not supervising the meetings, or not having standards, not having a a plan to reduce sexual abuse, so the church could be seen to be liable. And so this is going to be a way for the church to protect itself.
Wouldn't the onus or the burden of proof be on those who are suing, because we're innocent until proven guilty?
Yes, but you know how the deep pockets theory is.
Bill, when was the last time we actually had a Boy Scout troop in our church?
Well, I'm not sure. Charles would meet with scouts there before we moved in the modular.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was kind of intermittent, it wasn't every week or anything like that, but occasionally. And I don't know what it was like before I got here. I think maybe they met more frequently before I came.
Well, remember, some of that will have statute of limitations issues,
True.
but the more recent, though, would still fall within under that. And since it was not our church at the end, it would involve fellowship as well.
True. Do you know what the statute of limitations is for something like that?
I'm not sure of the time, but not very long. That's one of the problems with the predatory nature of violation of children, is that they come forward much later than they can actually prosecute.
Right. So it could be a long time ago. And I have no idea what was happening in our church building in the 90s, and the 2000s, there could have been scouts there. I don't know.
Well, we
I
did
think the
have-
issue would be more if we had a troop right now.
Yeah.
It would also be if we were sponsoring one, and we didn't sponsor one.
We've never sponsored one.
Not that I know of.
Yeah.
Charles has had his troop meet there, but St. Anthony's was not the sponsor of that troop.
Yeah, that's the way I understand it, is that Charles was just using it from time to time, but we were never the sponsor.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't think we have to do anything because the diocese is going to put us in there. And it sounds like, we don't really have a problem that anybody knows about. So hope that'll stay that way. Annual meeting date, it's time to start thinking about that. Saturday, well, should we have it on a Saturday? It's probably gonna be a Zoom meeting.
Could be a big Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, big.
When should we do it? Saturday, Sunday? Anybody got any thoughts? I think we did it Saturday last year.
We've always done it on Saturday before, so why not keep it the same method?
Sure. I think,
Yeah.
well, we have done it in the past on Sunday. Sometimes we had a joint service and then the annual meeting, but I think Saturday is probably a good time. The 23rd and the 30th are Saturdays, and you usually do it at the end of January. So the 30th, is that okay?
Yeah,
That'll work.
Sounds good.
we don't want to get too close to inauguration day.
See.
If everybody's mind is going to be on inauguration.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the 22nd, is it?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's before the 30th. By the way, that's going to be one big Zoom party.
Well,
I'm kidding. They're not going to be having all kinds of people in the Washington area. It just isn't going to happen.
are you talking about?
Inauguration.
Oh, yeah.
How many people are going to show up for it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, it's gonna be interesting inauguration.
Yeah, it is.
It's gonna be socially distanced.
Bill, one of the things I think we should
Probably a good
probably do
thing.
with the annual meeting is get the information and the documentation out to the parishioners earlier than we normally do, because it's gonna have to all be electronic
Mhm.
Yeah.
and, and simplify, try and figure some way of simplifying things, or this is gonna go on forever in this format.
Yeah.
Put it in the December newsletter, maybe?
Well, I
As
think we're gonna have to, do emails and things like that with the
Yeah.
amount of information that needs to go out, or you send out, so you do a special newsletter with it all in there and put it on the church website for people to pull. And then be pretty straightforward with the idea that, you must have this, or you're not, gotta have a program to know what's going on.
That brings up an interesting thought that we're just thinking about it. Isn't there in our bylaws, there has to be a certain number of attendance before we can
I was wondering about that.
approve that or whatever that we do in the meeting?
Yeah.
You're talking about a quorum?
I think, yeah, I
Mm.
guess.
I think it's a very low bar. I can't remember what it is. I've read it before, and it was not very restrictive. Anybody remember? I could,
Well, the reason I bring it up is if we need to change anything in the bylaws, because we may not be able to do it by Zoom. If we're voting and you have, I'm seeing a lot of complexity in that.
Yes,
yeah.
Yep.
we
The,
may have to just do the voting in a different scenario. And
By
do
mail.
the
Diocese
annual
Voting by
meeting more
mail.
the Presentation.
Mail-in ballot.
no,
Well,
no.
here's my new Siamese kitty.
Oh,
Isn't it cute?
Her sister is somewhere else, but she's right here in my lap.
Isn't she precious?
Yeah, she's pretty.
Are they
Sweet.
white when they're babies and then they get darker? Or
Yeah,
they're fur-
Yeah.
especially the nose and the tail and those parts.
Isn't it cute?
Yeah,
what did you name her, Bill?
That's Annie, and her sister is Phoebe.
Oh my goodness.
okay.
About the meeting, the bishop is working on language to be inserted into our bylaws that allows us to have an annual,
Yeah.
a virtual annual meeting and a virtual vote. So the
Yeah.
chancellor is working on that. Anything else you want to say about that, Bill?
No, he just commented that they should very soon, within the next couple of weeks, have from the chancellor an addition or an addenda to our bylaws that take care of Zoom meetings for the annual meeting, because everybody's going to wind up in the same situation. How do you account for the number of people and how do you vote? And they had to do it for the diocesan convention. And they're putting together a bunch of changes for bylaws that everybody can use. So they can do this on Zoom and not contaminate one another.
They're taking good care of us.
Yeah,
Do you want to make that meeting at 10 o'clock in the morning, as we've done in the past?
That sounds good to me. Yeah,
Mhm.
thanks for thinking about
Yeah.
that. I'm trying to
Well,
find.
one thing though, I think our biographies and things like that ought to be to you prior
Yeah.
to the first of the
you
year.
have to be face mask. You have to wear a face mask and be social distance. So get out there and do it.
Thanks, Bill.
Never would have known.
Yeah, we will try to do that. If we got it out the previous Saturday, do you think that would be enough to have the packet of annual report?
The Saturday before the meeting?
Yeah.
I
I think
don't
we had
see
to do it
people
earlier than
reading
that.
it.
What was that again?
I don't see people reading it that late in the game.
So 2 weeks before?
At minimum, yeah.
How are we,
2 weeks.
Well, we need to get our reports and things in probably sometime in December so they can be collated and put
Right,
together.
everything
and sent out.
everything should be ready to be put together by the end of the year.
Yeah.
That gives Linda and Bill and like that 2 weeks to put it in format.
Yeah,
and then how do we get that report out to the parishioners?
Either do a special newsletter or email it out to everybody.
And don't forget snail mail to those who don't
Yep.
do the
Right.
emails.
Then if you do snail mail, you have to start at least a month ahead.
You don't trust the post office anymore?
I don't trust the post office.
Well, we're talking also about getting, if we were using snail mail, we're talking about getting it right during the Christmas rush of mailing.
Yeah,
No, it'd be after that because we wouldn't have to send it out till the first week of January.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm looking in the bylaws to see if there's anything about a quorum. I don't see anything there about the number of people that have to be at the annual meeting. There is language saying that it has to be, the congregation has to be notified 2 Sundays before at church. So that it can't be, on the sly or on the secret.
Yep.
Doesn't say.
So you have to post the bond like 2 weeks early for 2 weeks.
Yes, that's right. The 2 Sundays preceding the meeting.
Something in relation to that too is we should be thinking about us going out and finding our replacements.
That's right. We need to have nominations coming up.
Yep.
Now, who's going off?
Get busy, or either that or stay in your job.
No,
Come on, Blaine, stick with us.
let me be clear. No,
I didn't hear that.
I'll call you later.
Let's see, I think David is going off. Blaine, who else? Peter?
No, Peter's still on,
Who's
isn't he?
still on? We'll have to look at the list. Okay.
What about Chelsea?
Yeah, I'm not sure. She might be going off. Yeah, it could be.
And Kristen is gone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have to put someone in her place. We have to elect, geez, I don't know, 4 people?
Dave Peterson's still on.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
elected this year, I think.
I'm on for 1 more year.
I have 1 more year.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any other business we need to talk about? Any other items or reports anybody would like to bring?
the only thing I want to do is I got $200 today more for the food drive, which brings us up to $1,100 and 100 pounds of food. And we have the one more on the 23rd, getting food from the church. So we met the goal with the idea of $1 per pound.
Good.
Good for you. Good. Wonderful.
Good for us.
Yeah. Good for us. We've been very generous and we still have a ways to go.
Yep.
My mind is still thinking of forward because we missed it this last year of Mardi Gras coming up. And hopefully we will be having the ability to get into the building, but it's going to be a different way, I guess, depending upon what phase we're in and what vaccines we have. And anyway, it's on my mind.
Okay.
And
Glad
so
you're thinking about it.
I'm thinking it through.
Good. Sounds good.
So.
All right, it sounds like we're about finished. Shall we adjourn?
I'd like to say one thing. When I was watching and listening to the service via Facebook 2 weeks ago, and I'm sitting here, and all of a sudden this beautiful voice is singing.
Oh, yeah.
And it just took me back. I thought, who is that?
Yeah.
And then I found out it was Ina. And I sent out an email through Mary because I didn't know Ina's email address, and complimented her and said it really appeared that she had been working, still continuing with her singing, even during this COVID stuff. And I said, do it again. And then lo and behold, she did the next Sunday.
Yeah.
And it really, really does add something to the service.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's been taking voice lessons at Western Washington University, and her voice is more mature and more powerful and more
Yes.
stronger. It's really, really lovely to see it.
Yeah, I can tell the maturity in her voice and how it's improved and changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had lots of compliments for her.
She loves that when she sings like that, because you can just watch her and she just loves it.
Yeah. She does.
Spreading that old COVID around because that's the way it is. The singers, we're all guilty of spreading COVID. Just
Yeah.
kidding.
That's it.
Well,
It's your fault.
well, she's wearing a mask and she's way over on the far side of the church. So we're trying to be appropriate with our distancing. You're muted, Penny. I can't hear you, Penny. Can you say that again?
Space bar, dear. Space bar.
Spacebar, you're muted.
Bill, unmute her.
I can only ask her to unmute. Well, thank you for your comment, Penny.
No, what I was telling Peter was to stay back from the screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Well, thank you all for your meeting tonight. I appreciate all your help.
Yeah.
And we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay, good.
stay safe.
Bye.